This car shouldn't exist. Ferrari was never supposed to build it. And Hamilton? He was never meant to drive it. But now, he's just broken Mercedes' record, with a machine that wasn't even running at full power. And if what we're hearing from inside the paddock is true, then the SF-26 isn't just fast. It's something else entirely. Because this could be the most dangerous car of the hybrid era. Stick around. You're going to want to see why. And if you love Formula One, hit subscribe. You're not ready for what's coming next. Let's rewind. Because to understand why Hamilton's new Ferrari is terrifying, you have to look at what happened before that lap. Barcelona. Pre-season testing. 5 days. No TV crews. No broadcast. Just raw data. Whispers in the paddock. And a Ferrari that no one fully understood. Not even the drivers. But something changed on day 5. Because while the spotlight was fading, and most teams were wrapping up, Lewis Hamilton climbed into the SF-26 and unleashed a lap no one expected. 1 minute. 16.348. Faster than Mercedes. Faster than McLaren. Faster than anyone. But here's where things start to twist. Because this wasn't a normal lap. Hamilton's run was late. Conditions were perfect. Fuel was low. Tires were soft. And every team watching knew what that meant. It was a statement. Not a simulation. A warning. But what scared people most was not the number. It was the fact that Ferrari, despite all odds, had pulled this off with a car that, on paper, should have been slower. Remember, Mercedes had just run over 500 laps. They had dominated the week. Their engine was the new benchmark. Russell's lap looked untouchable. And yet, Ferrari struck back. With a single, perfect shot. And that's why this moment matters. Because it was not just about speed. It was about timing. And Hamilton has always known exactly when to make his move. But here's where it gets even more dangerous. Because according to internal sources, Ferrari may have held something back. And if this is what the SF-26 can do when it's not fully unleashed, the rest of the grid has a serious problem. And it might already be too late to stop it. Let's talk about what really happened that day. Because while the headlines focused on lap times, inside the garages, something else was unfolding. Mercedes was watching. So was Red Bull. And according to one engineer on site, the moment Hamilton crossed the line, you could feel the mood shift. This wasn't just a fast lap. It was a declaration. Because Ferrari had spent the entire week, quiet, running clean programs, logging solid mileage, making no noise, until the very end. And that's the part most people missed. Ferrari waited. They let Mercedes do 500 laps. They let Russell break the benchmark. They let McLaren show their hand. Then, on the final day, Hamilton came out, with a run that looked casual, but was anything but. Because every variable had been optimized. Tire compound? C5. The softest. Fuel? Minimal. Track? Fully rubbered in. Setup? Pure quali mode. And yet, it still caught everyone off guard. Because no one expected Ferrari to be this close to Mercedes. Not after the last 4 seasons. Not after everything that went wrong since 2022. And especially not now, with a new car, a new concept, and a 7-time world champion still learning the limits. But here's where things start getting uncomfortable for the rest of the grid. Because even with all those variables working in their favor, Ferrari should not have been within a tenth of Mercedes. Not with their engine. Not with that gap in thermal efficiency. Not with a power unit still estimated to be 10 to 15 horsepower behind. And yet, Hamilton went faster. That raises a bigger question. Is Ferrari's chassis better than expected? Is their drag efficiency hiding something? Or, is this car part of a bigger plan? Because word around the paddock is, this wasn't just a performance run. It was a trigger. And the effect it's having? Is already being felt inside rival teams. But here's where it gets worse. Because while Ferrari was pushing their limits, Mercedes wasn't. They never went for a glory run. They didn't use soft tires. They didn't drop fuel levels. They never chased the stopwatch. They didn't need to. Because they already know what they've built. And the silence from Mercedes might be louder than anything Ferrari did. And now, we have to ask the uncomfortable question. Why didn't Mercedes respond? They had time. They had the pace. They had softer compounds available. They could have answered Hamilton's lap on the spot. But they didn't. Not because they couldn't, but because they chose not to. And that, right there, is psychological warfare. Because if you are Mercedes, and you've just completed 500 laps, with 0 reliability issues, with 2 drivers, including a rookie, and your fastest time was done on harder tires, why would you waste energy chasing a headline? They know what they have. They know the W17 is a weapon. And their silence? It speaks volumes. But that silence also gives Ferrari room to breathe, to believe, to push the narrative that they're closer than expected. And here's the dangerous part. They might be right. Because even if the SF-26 is not technically faster, it might not have to be. If it's close enough, if it's reliable enough, and if Hamilton can keep doing this at the right moments, then Ferrari does not need to dominate. They just need to stay within striking distance. And from what we saw in Barcelona, that's exactly where they are. But let's take this a step further. Because this isn't just about performance. This is about pressure. And nobody applies pressure like Lewis Hamilton. 7 world titles. Multiple team transformations. Years of experience turning doubt into fire. And now, he's inside Ferrari. He's inside their system. And more importantly, he's inside the heads of every rival on that grid. Because when Hamilton puts a car on top, even for one lap, it means something. It shifts momentum. It forces reactions. It exposes weakness. And right now, that one lap has already done damage. Rival engineers are adjusting programs. Sim teams are rerunning scenarios. Drivers are asking new questions. All because of 66 seconds on a Friday afternoon. And here's what nobody wants to admit. That lap might not even be close to what the car can really do. Let's talk about the other Ferrari. Because while Hamilton was stealing headlines, Charles Leclerc was doing something just as important. He wasn't chasing lap times. He wasn't doing glory runs. He was collecting data. Quietly. Relentlessly. 235 laps. One of the highest totals of the entire week. And that's where the real story starts to take shape. Because Hamilton's time was explosive, but Leclerc's pace was consistent. He ran on heavier fuel loads, harder tires, race simulations. And still, he was within 0.3 of George Russell's Mercedes. In conditions that weren't optimized. Which begs the question. If Leclerc can get that close without pushing, what happens when he does? And more importantly, what if Ferrari didn't even show their real package? Multiple sources in the paddock have hinted at it. That the SF-26 seen in Barcelona was not the final version. There's talk of an unrevealed floor, cooling upgrades not yet installed, even whispers of a new rear wing profile arriving in Bahrain. And that would explain everything. Because if Ferrari brought a version 1 car to testing, and still topped the timesheets, then what they're preparing next could be something far more dangerous. But this goes deeper. Because Ferrari's testing strategy was not random. They split their days. Tuesday in the wet, Thursday for mileage, Friday for performance. It was clinical. They avoided direct comparisons. They limited track time exposure. And they kept internal data sealed, tight, almost too tight. Which leads to one of two possibilities. Either Ferrari is bluffing, or they're playing a long game. And if that's true, then Hamilton's lap was not the climax. It was just the opening shot. A perfectly timed message, designed to rattle the grid before the season even starts. But there's one more thing. And it's what most people are still overlooking. The real strength of Ferrari this year might not be the car. It might be the drivers. Because with Leclerc collecting data, and Hamilton controlling the headlines, Ferrari might finally have the 1-2 punch they've been missing for over a decade. And here's where things get complicated. Because Ferrari isn't just managing a fast car. They're managing a loaded gun. 2 world-class drivers. 2 very different roles. 1 car, and 1 championship to fight for. Lewis Hamilton. The legend. The voice. The spotlight. Charles Leclerc. The homegrown talent. The loyal soldier. The one who's waited, year after year, for this moment. On paper, they're united. Publicly, the tone is calm. Respectful. But behind the scenes, it's already begun. Because Leclerc didn't switch teams. He's been here. He's endured the chaos. The failures. The rebuilds. And now, just as Ferrari may have built the car he's been waiting for, they bring in Hamilton. And Hamilton? He's not here to support anyone. He's here to win. That's the unspoken truth. And it changes everything. Because when the car is fast, pressure builds. When the title is possible, tension rises. And when both drivers believe they can be the one, things break. We've seen it before. Senna and Prost. Hamilton and Rosberg. Vettel and Webber. 2 drivers chasing the same prize. Only one gets it. And that's what makes this Ferrari story even more volatile. Because Leclerc knows this car. He's shaped it. Tested it. Lived through its worst versions. But Hamilton? He knows how to weaponize it. He doesn't need time. He doesn't need comfort. He just needs a moment. Like the one he took on day 5 in Barcelona. And here's what makes it so dangerous. When Ferrari was divided in the past, they fell apart. But if they stay united, this might be the strongest lineup on the grid. So now the entire paddock is watching. Not just the stopwatch, but the body language, the pit wall, the radio calls, looking for cracks. Because if Ferrari cracks, the title slips away. But if they hold, if Leclerc and Hamilton find a way to push each other without tearing the team in two, then Mercedes has a real problem. Red Bull has a real problem. Everyone does. Because this time, Ferrari has the car and the drivers. But can they survive each other? But what if this story doesn't end with a title? What if the same things that make this Ferrari project so powerful are the very things that could destroy it? Because let's not forget, this is Ferrari. And history has a way of repeating itself here. All the ingredients are there. Speed, talent, momentum, but also pressure, expectations, fragility. This is a team that hasn't won a championship in over a decade. And now they're being told, this is it. This is the year. This car. These drivers. No excuses. But that kind of pressure? It changes people. It forces mistakes. It amplifies every failure. Every missed pit stop. Every strategy error. Every radio call made 1 second too late. And with the entire world watching, Ferrari has no place to hide. Especially when the competition is this brutal. Because Mercedes is coming. Quiet. Efficient. Deadly. They have the best engine on the grid. The best mileage from testing. And they haven't even pushed yet. They're not chasing headlines. They're building weapons. And if Ferrari stumbles, even for one weekend, Mercedes will be there to take everything. Then there's Red Bull. Still recovering. Still adapting. But never gone. And McLaren? They showed flashes of brilliance. Not enough mileage, but enough potential to strike on the right weekend. Which means Ferrari has no margin for error. Because the SF-26 isn't just fast. It's fragile. It's new. And it hasn't faced real war yet. No wheel-to-wheel battles. No triple headers. No late-night rebuilds after a crash. All we've seen is a lap. One lap. One moment. A spark. But a spark can burn both ways. It can light the path forward, or it can set everything on fire. And that's where this story becomes something more. Because the SF-26 isn't just a car. It's a test. Of engineering. Of leadership. Of Hamilton. Of Leclerc. And of Ferrari itself.